this is just another video out there for you guys. Just both happen to see Venom, Let There Be Carnage, opening weekend. So we're just gonna do a quick little review of that. What we thought about it, what we liked, what we didn't, how we feel for the future. Going forward with Sony and / the MCU and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
My only real complaints with it, right? And I'm gonna have a couple complaints. I feel like where my initial concerns were held throughout. I love Woody Harrelson, but he did not. To me, he did not come off like an erratic, wild person who's supposed to be spreading carnage. You know what I mean? Like he didn't feel that way to me, and that was my thoughts coming into it. You know what I mean? Like that was based off of what we saw in the first movie. With him, that was already a concern of mine. Was like, oh man, is Woody Harrelson gonna be able to portray that? And personally, I felt like it was a little bit lackluster. Usually, you go into a movie with expectations or no expectations, and those expectations usually get shattered, or your no expectations end up falling short because the movie ended up being really good and it exceeded expectations. But I went into this thinking, oh, well, let's see, and it just didn't feel right to me personally.
Yeah, and see, I think that was one of the biggest issues for just in general consensus, because they're like, well, Woody Harrelson, blah blah blah, with the whole wig and all that crap, and he did get a better looking wig, but this is a tried and true actor, man, who's he is one of the best living character actors today.
I love Woody Harrelson.
He's played the psychotic roles before. He's played the mass murderer roles before, and I feel like it was just dropped the ball. He was trying so hard to be Anthony Hopkins, Hannibal Lecter, let me play some mind games with you, this and that. And dude, Cletus Cassidy is a fucking murderer. That guy will murder you with a spoon. He could have upped that psychotic maniac to 20 and it would have been fine. We got it dialed to maybe 6. It was just I
was hoping
the room. Yeah, and that kind of jumps me up to the next point, which is the romantic subplot, which I thought was really weird, because it's just here we are as lovebirds, but my girlfriend is also a mutant and has the power of sonic scream. I hope that's not going to become a problem later in the film. But yeah, then she apparently died, but she's not really dead, and she was in this other underground mutant facility, and she has ties to the detective, but they're oh, I really want to get her back so that we can get married and see this really Tim Burton style dark weddings.
Yeah.
And it was just weird. I felt like it was a weak subplot, and I feel like the movie didn't need it.
I felt like because usually, right, we already knew she was alive, even when the guy was saying that she was dead. We knew she was alive. We had already seen that one little flashback, but all we really saw was that one flashback after she had been shot, and killed.
Well, because and through my eyes, I thought that the detective really thought she was dead too.
No,
because he seemed genuinely surprised. You don't think so? I thought he seemed surprised.
He thought she was dead. Because the only reason he thought that she was, or he found out she was alive, was because her name popped up on that computer screen.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, usually whenever you're trying to establish some kind of romantic connection, right? You have to show. I guess you have to show how hard it is for her being locked up. You know what I mean? You saw one glimpse after she had broke out and then got shot. You saw that one glimpse of her, with her struggles. But whenever they finally met, personally, it didn't do anything for me, because there was no build up for it. Usually you show this person, waiting and oh man, you get what I'm saying? She's waiting for somebody to come rescue her, but he just comes and rescues her, and I don't know. I feel like they were trying to make it to where anytime you involve a romantic subplot, there's some form of, I want to make this person relatable to the audience who's watching. I didn't get that. I felt like both him and her were really awkward on screen. I didn't feel like they were really they were a strong pairing.
It's ironic too because the actress was Naomi Harris. She played Tia Damla from the Pirates of the Caribbean series, and
She's
that was a
awesome.
weird romantic. It was a romantic subplot with Davy Jones.
Yeah.
So it was just
But
like
she was good
like
in her role.
no, hell yeah, dude. Yeah,
I mean,
it's awesome in Pirates. Yeah, this one was just it was just a little bit weird, and even like the whole like whenever he's just like, oh, I got a friend to introduce you to. This is Carnage, and he's like kind of like going over the cell and like and shatters it. I was like, dude, you're strong enough to like just punch a hole through it. Like, what are you doing? And I don't know, like just then like the whole thing. It was as soon as get involved with each other, and they're like, oh, I got a list of people I want to hunt. And then she does the whole sonic scream for the first time while he's already there, like carnified. It's just like, don't do it. He's weak to sound. And then she does it like 5 other times in the movie, right? Like where he's there.
He's like, do it again and I'll kill you.
Yeah, Carnage is just like rightfully like, this is literally fucking killing me. Stop doing it. And then he just knocks her out. And then of course Woody Harrelson's gonna have the inner struggle, and it was just I don't know.
It was really awkward. The Carnage was awkward. Venom was fucking awesome.
I feel like because I feel like they didn't have to like rely on that sort of thing. Like as soon as they meet Anne and she's like, oh, I'm getting married, blah blah blah. He's just like, oh, okay. And that starts off his whole like internal struggle, and he's just like, well, blah blah blah. I just wanted to get my life back, this and that. And Venom leaves him, goes out on his his the club rave scene.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I feel like Tom Hardy was doing the best that he could in the role.
Yeah.
And I really feel like a lot of the weakness of this movie stemmed from the fact that it was rushed, and then its premiere date was like tug of war like 75 times, and at the end of the movie you see why, because what's coming out in December.
Yeah.
So I feel like necessarily the movie itself was weak, but only because of what's to come is promised to be so strong.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything negative to say about Tom Hardy in general, because I think he's such a good actor. But just like I feel like his role was just like a little bit more of the same. And I was speaking to my roommate about this, and he said that we saw him go through the whole like shifting, like scatterbrain in the first one when he was still trying to find that symbiote bond with Venom. But by the second one, it shouldn't have been like that, but he still was. Like he was still overly jumpy and like playing that tug of war mentally. And by the time has passed, like they were fine. They were getting along great. Like I don't think he should have had to still be that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Tom Hardy himself. I talked about this like as we were leaving the theaters, me and Bay. Sorry, I talked about this as we were leaving the theaters. I think like Tom Hardy has had some really good roles in his life, and oh man, like he just puts his heart and soul in this one, and it's like it's clear. And acting with somebody who's not himself, who's not portraying the lines that we're hearing in the movie itself. You know what I mean? Who's basically just giving a really dialed back version of all the Venom lines for sure, because it's just somebody talking off screen, and he's responding to that person most likely. For him to do so well in those instances, but then again, you're right, it's Andy Serkis, so I mean, fuck, Andy Serkis is intense in and of himself. So who knows? But I do know that Tom Hardy did a really good job. I personally think that this is going to go down as like his role, like his one role. Like you have Robert Downey Jr., right? Like of all the movies that he's ever done, right? Iron Man's clearly the role, right? Yeah. It's clearly the role. Chris Hemsworth, it's clearly Thor. And it's too bad. It's too bad that it's not like a more serious or dramatic role or something like that. Just because of popularity, it's always going to be bigger with a live action Marvel hero. It's always going to be the bigger. So and we talked about that the last time too. Like it's just the money that they generate. It's always going to be that way. I don't even know if you can name like a hero who's had a role that's not, who's already in like a Marvel comic role that has a bigger role outside of those movies. I don't think you can really.
No. I can name like other roles that are iconic to them, but it's just like no, it's just like yeah, you're not going to be like a higher grossing role.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But
But I personally loved Venom too. I did. Um, my only real complaints were with Carnage and the love interest.
another thing I didn't like about the movie is the fact that there was legitimately only one fight scene, and it happened at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my opinion, it should have been like Carnage and Venom fighting, and Carnage just decimating him. Then whatever, he finds out Anne's been kidnapped. He's got to psych himself back up to fight. But like they literally did all that, like, and so much dialogue squeezed into that last fight scene. Where they're just like, oh no, it's a red one. We can't do this. Oh, we gotta buy Anne. She wasn't even that great. And then he's like, no, you gotta fight. And Harrelson's there like, are we doing this or what? Like he's literally waiting for him to have that internal struggle. And it's just like, man, like that was really disappointing. And then just like then they go into like that super drawn off fight, which again wasn't helped by the sonic screams or then the bells, where it's like them constantly shifting in and out of their symbiote forms, trying to fight, shifting in and out of the symbiote forms. And again, it kind of gave me that like, man, dude, like this is like sucks, because you look at the character Cletus Cassidy, he's not exactly super ripped or anything. He's like more lean, if anything, but he's like a psychotic murderer, so he'll choke you, he'll do that. But you look at Eddie Brock's character, he has like the high school linebacker. He's a ripped guy. So if it came to them actually throwing hands in person, I don't think that he would lose in a fist fight without their symbiotes in there. And they already did that sort of thing in this movie when he was fighting the scientist guy on the rocket ship, like on the launch pad. Then they're shifting in and out of their symbiote forms. So I was like, this isn't something we haven't seen before.
Yeah, not just that, but I mean Tom Hardy compared to Woody Harrelson in general. Like, even despite the characters themselves, just like you already casted Tom Hardy, so you got to work with his body. Exactly. And compare him to Woody Harrelson, Tom Hardy would beat the fucking shit out of Woody Harrelson.
Exactly.
Like, there's no argument there.
I think he's like maybe taller, but like Tom Hardy's like what, a 5'9"?
Dude, like he was Brunson, right? Like, I mean, the roles he's played and the shit that he's done, like in his roles, like, come on, man. Like, no one's gonna pretend that old Woody Harrelson's gonna stand a chance against fucking prime of his life Tom Hardy.
Woody Harrelson's like a ninth degree black belt or something. He's like, I'll take that money.
I mean, I'll take a piece of that. Who knows? But
right? You do see a lot of celebrities nowadays like studying martial arts, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I would.
But yeah, like it was just kind of like I was wanting more of that, like. It with the whole personality thing with Venom, like there was comedic moments for sure. Like I laughed some stuff. Just like I feel like they try to rely too much on like the humor.
Definitely.
And they earned their PG rating. That's all like the PG-13 rating. That's all I gotta say about that. And their one use of the F-bomb was a funny line. I laughed. I'm not gonna say I didn't. But they made that really classic Marvel mistake, man. They killed off their antagonists, and you don't do that.
Well. What were they setting up for Toxin,
maybe. Right. That's another thing. Okay, we're just gonna go into the whole post-credit thing. One thing though before that is the song. Last Man Standing was nowhere near as good as Venom. That's because they even played the Eminem verse on that song. Yeah. I think it was like Skylar Grey or something. I'm not sure of her name. It was like featuring a couple of different rappers on there. But yeah, they played like the Eminem line over the credits, and I was like, man, this was not as good as the Eminem. Yeah, post credit scene, you see Venom and Eddie on the run, blah blah blah, and the shifting of dimensions, and they find themselves in the MCU. They are now part of that mainstream continuity. Yeah. And what do they see but Spider-Man being unmasked, and Venom looks the screen, like a dog that just saw a tasty steak, and he goes up there and he licks the screen. And I'm hoping that really plays a huge role in the whole No Way Home or whatever.
Yeah.
And gets him, because he's trying to do that whole lethal protector thing. He wants to be that hero. So I'm hoping that it either like kind of gets on Peter at one scene, maybe gives him an extra strength that he needs, or Venom fights with Peter against like the villains in the movie, If any of that happens, I want like Venom to look down and look at Peter's costume and make like the Black Widow symbol on him, and I just think that'll be like so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And hopefully for the future, can use like what is the MCU version of Carnage and not have to rely on oh, this character's dead, we can't use him anymore. Because I always think that's so stupid, especially in superhero movies. Like if you have an arch nemesis or like a villain that you're recurring, like you don't kill them off. That's so dumb. It's how you end up with like these random no-name villains that ultimately do nothing in your sequels, and it's just like a waste.
And
I
felt like whenever we watched the first movie, right, seeing Woody Harrelson at the end, and having those thoughts, right, like those thoughts were verified whenever we watched this movie, and that's how we feel. Is oh shit, well it didn't stand up. It didn't stand up. We were fearing he might not, and he didn't.
A lot of people are like, oh, this movie sucks, 3 out of 10, whatever. I'm just like, it definitely wasn't the best it could have been.
For sure.
At the top of my head, I think that Wilson's a good actor. I don't want to be like, oh, he's too old to play the role, blah, blah, blah. He just, he could have played it more like a fucking serial killer. It would have been good, actually. What's his name? One of the... damn it. What's the name of that freaking actor from It? The guy who played It?
Oh, one of the Skarsgårds?
Skarsgård, yes.
Or Bill.
Bill, yeah, dude, like that guy, first of all, he looks creepy. I'm sorry, nothing against him. I think he's a good actor. But he has that look, yeah. And I don't know if he's like blonde in real life or a redhead, but like, I would have rather seen him with the freaking red hair.
I think he's dark haired.
Yeah, so I could have
there's so many people that they could have gone with. And I don't know if like it was, oh, well, Woody Harrelson will be perfect for it. You know what I mean?
And again, I think it just has to do with like, oh, what's coming next? And that's why I'm like, okay, if y'all did that for the sake of Spider-Man, then fine. But like, don't disservice that by like making his role like a cameo in the Spider-Man movie. You know what I mean? Or else bring that fucking heat in Venom 3, and make it at least 2.5 hours. It's like especially now, like modern movie lengths are usually not less than 2 hours. So the fact that was still so short, then I guess like Sony / Marvel not wanting to take a chance on putting it in a rated R.
Come on, like look at Deadpool,
if you've seen, it's proven that it can work.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, like with Carnage, like he's less about like the pure strength sort of thing, and he's like about blades, serrated weapons, whips, swords. Like that guy's a gruesome killer. Again, you're portrayed by is Cassidy, a murderer. Like I would have wanted to see the guy just freaking kill somebody without a symbiote. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then don't like, oh, he took like the guards and he's like whipping them around and like throwing them. I was like, he should have been cutting people in half. Like something like that. Like that's the portrayal of that character. But we just really didn't get to see that.
Yeah.
That's the problem with them killing him off. It's like, man, even if he could have come back for another movie, we won't get to see that now. So I don't know. I was so unbelievably hyped for this film because I'm such a huge Venom fan, and then just for that to like the expectations were not met.
Yeah, and I personally had a lot of fun with it. I loved all the Venom stuff. I loved him going off on his own. Tom Hardy, I'm a huge fan of Tom Hardy. So
Ducati. Said that whenever I was like, dude, that's a motorcycle. That's a Ducati.
I love the Venom and Tom Hardy stuff. Just my big complaint was with Woody Harrelson himself and Naomi Harris. I honestly felt like those characters just did not mesh well at all, and that's my complaints. I can understand. I definitely agree that it was rushed for sure, but for the most part, I enjoyed the other parts myself.
Yeah, like I give it like a 6 out of 10. Like there were parts that I did enjoy. I wish like I said, a lot of it was just like pacing issues and wishing that you could have seen more of it. Like even freaking Anne and what was the doctor's name? Like Dan, Dave, and like even they got time to shine. The detective did a lot in that movie. Like there were so many like supporting characters that we saw more of ultimately than like Woody Harrelson's Carnage. And I just thought that was like crazy to me, man. Like you jam-packed so much stuff and still slapped a 90-minute runtime on it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's our thoughts So our thoughts on Venom 2.
If you guys have seen it already, hopefully we didn't spoil too much of it if you haven't. But yeah, like, did you like it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you, are you excited for the future of the character and what it could mean for the MCU? Sound off below. Let us know. Just, what other Marvel movie are you looking forward to? Something like that. We got a couple more coming out the end of this year.
Yeah.
So, if you like this sort of like just review in general, and you maybe want us to see more of that, and whether it's current movies coming out or even some older ones that you like, give us shout out on that as well. Let us know. We're always open to suggestions. Creating that dialogue between you guys, of course. Just sound off. Huh?
For sure. And if you want us to like watch a specific movie, let us know. I mean, we have a lot of free time, and usually we spend that free time watching or reading shit. So
yeah.